Good morning, children. I welcome you all to this today's session of science, in which we are into biology, and chapter is our environment. And up till now, we have seen what is a food chain, what is our environment, what is ecosystem, what is food chain, and then ultimately we saw that lots of food chains, when clubbed together, form a food web. Right? In this chart here, see, children, the differences between food chain and food web have been further elaborated. That food chain is in nature the transfer of food energy from source in plants through a series of organisms with separate stages of eating and being eaten is known as food chain. Whereas food web, the trophic relationship between organisms in an ecosystem, is not simple chain like but forms a complicated network. This net like trophic interrelationship is called food web. Right, in food chain, organisms show linear relationship. In food web, it has many intercrossed and linking points. Right, in food chain there are maximum 4 to 5 links, so that there are 4 to 5 types of organism. Food web is a complex network. Right, remember this, food chain is a simple one, but food web is a complex network. Right, also the flow of energy between various components of the environment has been found that green plants, they capture 1% of energy, only 1%, children, of energy of sunlight, and converts it into food energy. When producers are consumed by primary consumers, a great deal of energy is lost as heat to the environment. An average 10% of the food eaten is turned into its own body and made available for the next level of consumers. 10% is the average value for the amount of organic matter that is present at each step and reaches the next level of consumers. Food chain generally consists of only 3 or 4 steps because little energy is available for the next level of consumers. Right? So the loss of energy at each step is so great, 90%, that very little usable energy remains after 4 trophic levels. In lower trophic levels, number of individuals are more. The greatest number is of the producers. Right? Now, the length and complexity of food chains is very great. Right? So, these were the some of the points. Now we'll move on to the biological magnification. Right? So, many chemical pesticides and herbicides are used in modern agricultural practices. Some chemicals do not degrade and they are called hazardous substance. Right? See, this is very important, children, because unless and until they will not degrade, they will not mingle with the soil and they will not be a part of the soil. Right? And then they are chemicals and they can harm. Right? So, the long range of such pesticides, in fact, a threat to our ecological security. Discriminate use of the pesticides could make them an integral part of our biological, zoological, and geological and chemical cycle of the earth. Right, if a hazardous pesticides enter a pond, it is taken as such by the zooplanktons. Right, so this hazardous chemical is in the form of keeps on moving from water to different living organisms of the pond, but more threatening is that its concentration continuously increases in successive trophic levels. Right, so now what will happen if the concentration is successively increasing? That means it is becoming more and more hazardous. And right, and this is known as biological magnification, right? Or biological amplification. Right? Biomagnification refers to increase in the concentration of toxicant at successive trophic levels, right? With the examples being DDT, hexachlorobenzene, PCB, toxaphene, monomethyl mercury, right? These are some of the examples of biomagnification. Toxic substances like DDT or mercury, when entered in food chain, their concentration increases at successive toxic levels. Right, and this can be seen in this flow chart here. See what is happening. Water, from water DDT is 0.003 percent per milliliter to zooplankton 0.04, then small fish 0.5, fish eating birds is 25 ppm, sorry 0.25, and large fish it is DDT is 2 ppm, right? So you are seeing there is a continuous increases there. Now, flow of energy in an ecosystem. Energy is the capacity to do work in all living organisms, right? The energy which maintains the life of the organism in the world is the light energy which comes from sun. Light energy is a part of radiant energy in wavelengths between 400 micro mm and 760 micro m, right? About 33% of the solar uh, 33 of the solar energy is reflected back by the clouds, and 9% is reflected by the suspended dust particle, 10% held by water vapor and other gases, and thus leaving 48%. Only 48% of the energy, children, is what which reaches the earth surface. Come to now the conversion of radiant energy into chemical energy, right? Only 5% of the energy reaching earth is utilized by the green plants. They utilize light energy in photosynthesis, convert light energy into chemical energy, right, which is used in building up the plant body and in metabolic activities. A part of radiant energy absorbed by the plant is dissipated as heat, and heat is used to evaporate water. Transfer of chemical energy and community respiration. Chemical energy stored in a plant food is transferred to herbivorous animals. The food chain in a community actually represents a stepwise transfer of food energy. The food energy from herbivorous is transferred to carnivorous. And third point is community respiration. Now, what is it? A part of total organic compounds produced by green plant is broken down during its own respiratory process with release of energy. Chemical energy stored in plant is transferred to herbivorous animal. They also utilize the food for respiratory purpose. In all organisms, some energy remains unutilized, which is released as heat to environment. During respiration, ATP is formed, which is utilized by organism in various metabolic processes. Heat energy which remains unutilized by producer, consumer and decomposer is lost to environment and is called the community heat, right? Basically it is the heat energy which is lost, which is not utilized, right? As you can see from this diagram, from sun we are getting heat energy, and which is forming part of community respiration, grazing channel and detritus channels, right? Now, what is detritus channel? Dead bodies of plants and animals and excretory materials of organism contain organic matter. Chemical energy is present in these materials. Microorganisms decompose these materials and release energy as heat into the environment. This channel of flow of energy is called the detritus channel, right? So in this way the energy flows in an ecosystem. In an ecosystem, the flow of energy is always unidirectional, right? Remember this word, unidirectional. That is in one way. Now we come to the ecological pyramids. See at the bottom of this there are the producers. These are the producers. Then primary consumers, secondary consumers, and then the tertiary consumers or the scavengers or carnivores, right? See, the producers are plants. Primary consumers may be rabbits or goats. Then secondary consumers are the wolves, and the tertiary consumers are the vultures, lions, right? So uh, let us straight away come to ozone layer and how it is getting depleted, right? Ozone is a molecule formed by three oxygen atoms. Please, children, remember this. Ozone comprises of 3 atoms of oxygen, right? The upper stratosphere consists of considerable amount of ozone. This region, called the ozone layer, extends up to 60 km above the surface of the earth. Ozone is present up to 60 km. It is densest in the region between 20 to 25 km from the earth's surface. In the densest ozone layer, there is only one ozone molecule in 1 lakh gas molecules. Ozone is produced naturally from the photodissociation of ozone gas molecules in the atmosphere. Right? The ozone that thus formed is constantly broken down by naturally occurring processes and maintains balance in ozone layer. Presence of certain pollutants can accelerate the breakdown of. This is what is happening in the world, and due to which the ozone is depleted. That these are the pollutants which are there, right? These are the pollutants like air pollution agents which are accelerating the breakdown of ozone, right? Then there is CFC or chlorofluorocarbon, right? They are used in aerosols, air conditioners, refrigerator, fire extinguisher, perfumes, etc. Halogens are similar to CFC but contain bromine instead of chlorine, right? Effects of ozone layer depletion. It has multiple effects, the first being on human health. Sunburn, cataract, aging of skin, and skin cancer are caused. See, the implications are so severe. Skin cancer is a big disease caused when increased UV radiation, food production. Ultraviolet radiations affect the ability of plants to capture light energy during photosynthesis. This reduces the growth of the plant. Plants and animals' planktons are damaged by ultraviolet radiations. Now, how to control it? In order to minimize ozone layer depletion, the following measures should be adopted, right? First is managing the garbage we produce. In a metro city in UP, nearly 1000 tons of garbage is generated every day. Waste management, collection, transportation, and disposal of garbage, sewage, and other waste products. This needs to be done in a proper way, at landfills or dumping grounds. It needs to be done. Management of solid waste is done in 4 ways: refuse, reuse, recycle, reduce. We should refuse to buy new items, reuse cans and bottles, recycle, segregate your waste to make that it is collected and taken for recycling, and reduce the generation of unnecessary solid waste, right? Collection of waste, solid waste should be collected from household, community, and sent to the final disposal site, and then it should be segregated. Waste should be segregated into biodegradable and non-biodegradable. We see two colored buckets, green and blue, right? The green is for biodegradable and blue is for the non-biodegradable. Treatment of disposal of hazardous solid waste, right? This needs to be taken care of. There is composting is another method. In this, microorganisms are putted to increase the composting. Medical solid waste management, right? Because this can be very dangerous and may cause health hazards, so they need to be managed properly. Hazardous waste substances. Hazardous waste can be managed by waste minimization and thereafter its proper treatment and disposal. Waste products can be minimized by reduction in waste generation, recycling of waste, its treatment and detoxification, and finally its disposal. Awareness among masses. People should be made aware about the environmental issues, right? So with that, we come to the end of the chapter, our environment. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did in making it, and until we meet again, it's a goodbye.